In a way, the Siege of Leningrad is very well documented. It wasn't for a while because there was essentially a statewide cover-up to minimise the amount of casualties and the suffering that had happened in the city. There were around 3 million people living inside the city during the siege, and of course many of them are keeping diaries and records of what they're going through. And these start to come to light in the 1970s and 80s, and so there is a huge amount of documentary evidence just from ordinary people. The botanists who work at the Plant Institute did not keep the same kind of records, none of them, or if they did, they've never been seen. And so they did keep much drier records of, whenever an incendiary bomb landed on the institute roof or anything like that. Perhaps because they were government employees, you didn't get the sort of human sense of what it was like to be in a seed bank surrounded by all this food while the city is starving. But nevertheless, in some of their recollections were completely startling. There was one extraordinary act of heroism that came from two of the botanists who, just before the siege ring closes, decide to travel to Pavlovsk, which is the little village or town in the suburbs of Leningrad, where the Plant Institute had a field station where they planted out their potatoes and did loads of experiments. And I think they had around 6,000 varieties of potatoes, many of them very fragile from South America from their collecting trips. They're in the ground or in special plots in this field station, and they don't want them to be trampled by the advancing German forces. They don't want them to be dug up or anything like that. So they two of the botanists start to mount this rescue attempt for the potatoes. And Abraham Kamaraz, one of them, is in Pavlovsk as the German army enters the town. He's digging up potatoes, putting them in burlap sacks when they start shelling the fields where he's working, and he's actually knocked to the ground in the explosion of one of these blasts and knocked unconscious. And when he comes to, he sort of checks himself over, sees he's not wounded, and puts all of the potatoes he'd been collecting back in their sack, and then makes his way back to the city, really while only 500 meters or a kilometer away from the German troops. So there are moments like this of extreme high drama, even though writing about scientists, not soldiers. And so some of those stories certainly were amazing to uncover.